Headline news, I'm Bob Lozier, sitting in for Chuck Roberts. Beijing International Airport is jammed with people as hundreds of foreigners flee the strife-torn country. The exodus out of Beijing increased after the U.S. ambassador ordered the evacuation of dependents of American diplomats. The State Department urged all other private Americans to leave Beijing as soon as possible because of the uncertain and increasingly dangerous situation. France, Japan, Britain, and the U.S. have chartered commercial planes to help ferry people out of Beijing. For many, leaving the city is an emotional undertaking.
If the people have anything to do with it, the future will be bright. But the people themselves have been telling me for the last year there's no hope for China. The last time I saw a group of my students was on Friday afternoon, and the last words that were said to me was, "There's no hope."
Earlier today, there were shooting sprees by Chinese troops outside the Beijing Toronto Hotel and a diplomatic compound in Beijing. Although most of the shots were fired into the air, many windows and nerves were shattered.
We saw the people running towards the street from our hotel window, so we ran to the front of the hotel so we could see them. There were about 300 army trucks loaded with soldiers. The soldiers were waving to the people. The people were waving back. Then all of a sudden, the soldiers started shooting into the air. People dropped behind the hedge, but within about 3 seconds, they were up again.
In Hong Kong, this was an unofficial day of mourning for those killed in the weekend massacre in Beijing. Thousands of residents donned black armbands and observed a one-day general strike. Before dawn, police used batons and tear gas to break up a riot, which began when some protesters began looting and throwing bricks and bottles. Police blamed the violence on hooligans. The crisis in China is prompting many of Hong Kong's British citizens to seek permission to emigrate to Britain before London turns the province over to Beijing in 1997. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's response was to urge restraint but relax immigration laws. As David Chater reports, some believe that's not enough.
As the size and pace of protest grows outside the Chinese embassy in London, Mrs. Thatcher has been explaining her idea of an insurance policy for Hong Kong to convince people to stay there by allowing more flexibility on immigration.
That is what flexibility means, that we use the procedures available a little bit more generously than we have in the past, because we think it's necessary for the future of Hong Kong and for reassurance of the people.
Labour's Foreign Affairs spokesman is going out to talk to the people of Hong Kong later this week.
They're sophisticated people. They know that Britain's immigration laws can't just be torn up, even with them in the plight that they are. But I'd be interested to hear from them what they believe might be some flexibility.
The Democrat leader, Paddy Ashdown, learned to speak Chinese in Hong Kong. Today, he visited the shrine to Beijing's dead outside the Chinese embassy.
What the government have decided today is that if you've got enough money, £150,000, then you can come to Britain. Why is it that Mrs. Thatcher sees everything in money terms?
Paddy Ashdown, who flew to Hong Kong tonight, said the government was operating a system of checkbook.